Hello my friends, Katie here with Eastwick's Paper and Ink, and I'm excited to be back for another video. Today I'm excited to announce a new crafty collab with my friend Terra over at Mayham Crafty Cards. We have started a monthly crafty collaboration, and this month we are playing with alcohol inks. I do want to say real quick, if you hear any laughing or any television noise in the background, my husband is downstairs watching Naked and Afraid. So yeah, there's that going on in the house right now. So we're doing some tips and tricks and a video for alcohol inks. And so my first tip is make your own alcohol inks. It's really easy. It's super cheap. I recommend these chisel tip size alcohol markers, the permanent markers, because they're like $8 a pack. You get 8 in a pack. A variety of colors. You can see them all down there in my little dish, and they're very vibrant and super easy to make. You need an ounce of alcohol to your one little, tube of ink. When you break open those Sharpies, you take that little felt thing out, cut it open, stick it in a mason jar. I use the 4-ounce mason jars with the ounce of alcohol and let it drain out in there, and boom, you got alcohol ink. Super simple. So that's number one. Number two is that good old Lazy Susan. Now I have it's a cake decorating one, so I put a piece of press and seal over the top of it to protect it. But any Lazy Susan, I highly recommend it. It will make it so much easier for you when you're doing your blowing and blending and all that stuff, to spin it around instead of trying to lift up your inked paper to move it around. So Lazy Susan, that's number two. Number three is coming up here in a second, but it's a an old toothbrush, excuse me. Old toothbrush, you can dip that in alcohol and spray it out, and that way you can get some fine splatters of alcohol instead of big droplets. So toothbrush is number three. Number four is those painter pens. These are gold and silver painter's pens that I picked up in Walmart, a couple of bucks, and they have a metal ball inside, and you hold the nib down, and your paint, ink, whatever, drains out, and you can take a fine paintbrush and you can add the gold or silver detailing to your alcohol panels. Super easy, especially if you don't have metallic alcohol inks, which I do not. But it's nice if you want to add that gold detailing. I don't recommend regular acrylic paint, which is actually acrylic paint that's inside those painter pens, but I don't recommend regular acrylic paint because it thins out. It doesn't adhere as well and opaque as excuse me, those painter's pens. The painter's pens do smell though, so again, we want good ventilation when we're working with all this stuff. Okay, number four. Okay, that was number four. We're on number five. We've got condiment bottles for your blower. Okay, this one is super soft. I picked this up at Walmart, so if you have hand dexterity issues, you can see that one's a little bit, the bigger one is a little bit firmer, a little bit harder to squeeze. I'm going to show it flexing. The one here that says water on it that I got from Walmart, that is super soft. If you have hand dexterity issues, it's a good one to use. The downside to it is that it doesn't spring back as quick. If you it does if you don't squeeze too hard, so you can get the short bursts, but I like the bigger one because it's a bit firmer, and I don't have hand dexterity issues. But if you have squeezing and it hurts to squeeze, go with the softer bottle. Even your grocery stores will probably have those in the softer. Now, I've got another tip for you. Excuse me, I'm sorry, I keep coughing. I got a dry throat. So I'm on number 6 for tips, is you can make your own blending solution. And some of you may or may not want to do this, and that's okay, but it's nice to know you have the ability. And it's with that little syringe I showed you that says antifreeze on it. Now, you want to take 2 ounces of the 91% alcohol and 5 milliliters of straight antifreeze, the concentrate, not the 50-50. You want the full strength antifreeze. Mix that in a little squirt bottle, and you've got yourself some blending solution. Now, I don't think you need it. I made a little bottle of it, but I don't think you need it. You can get great results with just the 91% alcohol, and I'm going to show you that in this part of the video. So I got another tip for you. So we got 7 tips here. If you want to get that wispy look, super simple. Put your ink down, take your isopropyl alcohol and put it on the edge of the ink, and then you're going to blow that isopropyl alcohol in. You need the little blower tool. Doesn't matter if you use a condiment bottle or the camera things, or you know, the new Tim Holtz blower. You need a blower to blow that alcohol ink, the isopropyl alcohol into the ink, and then reverse it and blow the ink back out into the alcohol. That's going to give you that soft, wispy look. Super easy, super quick, nothing fancy. So you can see that I keep going, you know, keep adding my alcohol to the edges, blowing it in, and then blowing it out, blowing it into the ink, the alcohol into the ink, and then blowing the ink back out into the alcohol. And you can do that as much as you want. Another quick tip, okay, we got 8 tips. Who knew how many tips there'd be? I told Terra, I said, I don't know if I have any tips, but I guess I got more tips than I think. So another tip is less is more. You see, I just kind of slapped on the alcohol ink on here. And that's fine. If you want your whole panel covered, you want it saturated, you know what I mean? You don't want any white space and that kind of stuff. But if you want to have more of that dreamy, ethereal, airy look to your alcohol backgrounds, less is more. Okay, so you want to, and you can, because you can always add. Okay, once you add too much ink, yeah, they say you can wipe it away, but you really can't. It stains the background. It does leave some ink on the background. It doesn't give you that bright, bold white space that you might be looking for. So start off with less, and I'm going to show you that in the next panel. I did 2 background panels. Start out with less. Do the same technique where you're adding your alcohol ink to the edge of the ink. I'm sorry, you're rubbing alcohol to the edge of your ink, blowing that alcohol into the ink, and then blowing the ink back out into the alcohol. And you're going to get that soft, dreamy, wispy look. Super simple. And honestly, you probably have a lot of the stuff here, you know, already at home. You might already have Sharpies that might be dried out. Now, you can do, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, but you can do your alcohol ink with the regular size Sharpies, but you need 2 of those. And so here I'm working on that second panel, and I show you where I just put 1 color down, and I'm working that, and I stretch it out a little bit and soften it, and then I'm going to take another color. Excuse me, you can see it. I have a little bit of edge of alcohol, rubbing alcohol, so I add that, you know, to the edge of that alcohol. I didn't add it right on top of the ink. I want to work it in. Okay, so give yourself a little distance, a little playroom, and you know, you can work that ink right in, you know, to blend it all together to give that soft, almost watery look to it. I think I'm just looking for another color, and so I'm going to use and you can mix your, you know, homemade alcohol inks with your Ranger alcohol inks, and those homemade ones, they're really bright and vibrant. So you know, if you ever wondered what they might look like, they're in some cases too bright, you know what I mean? Sometimes you want a little bit more muted look, but these soften right out. Once you start adding that rubbing alcohol to it, it really softens that color out. And so here I could have ended this, right? I had enough color on it. It was soft, it was wispy. I wanted a little bit more. I wanted a different color, so I throw in some pink. Again, putting on my rubbing alcohol, blowing it into the ink, and then blowing the ink back out into the alcohol. Now, you can get a little nutty with it, you know what I mean? Because you never know when to quit. But what's nice by adding a little bit at a time is it gives you some time to look at it and say, okay, do I need a little bit more ink here? It for a medium that you think you don't have much control over, this actually gives you the most control by adding a little and working with what you have, thinning it out, and then adding in more ink if you feel that you need it. Now that comes with another thing. So these homemade alcohol inks are really bold and bright and very vibrant. And so what's nice is you could actually thin them down even more. You can put them in a separate little bottle and add some ink and then thin them down with alcohol, more alcohol, and that's going to give you a lighter color and it almost helps you give another lighter technique, giving you that wispy look a little bit easier, so that you don't have to work it as much with your little spray bottles and things like that. So I think that's all I got for the tips, guys. I'm going to bring that other panel in here in a few minutes, and I'm going to show you. I didn't want to speed this up too much. Everything is sped up 2 times, but I didn't want to go too fast with it because I really wanted you to be able to see the technique in a little bit more detail. That way you can easily replicate it. I mean, guys, I'm new to alcohol inks. I've had these things sitting on my shelf for several months, honestly, and I was messing around with them and playing with them and not really knowing what to do, how to do it. And this was the best way that I found, is I sat and I played, I looked things up, I watched a couple videos, and what I found is exactly what I'm telling you, the easiest technique. It doesn't have to be complicated. It can be just as simple as a little bit of ink, a little bit of alcohol, and your little blowy tool, and you're good to go. And you can see that I'm bringing that purple out a little bit too far. I didn't want it out that far. I kind of want to keep everything central in the, like a diagonal. So I'm going to add a bunch of alcohol here in just a minute to that purple and really blow that in to the center. And what's cool is if you can use the blower as an extension of your hand. So if you want it to go in an upward motion to move really, instead of just, having your hand stationary and squeezing, if you move that blower tool in a direction, you will guide your alcohol ink a lot easier as well. Okay, so that's tip number 9, I guess. Tip number 9. Don't leave your hand stationary when you're using your blower tool. Move it in the direction that you want it to go. You can see that I want this to go in a diagonal angle, so I'm, shoving my hand up, in a diagonal direction, to get my ink to move, not just keeping it in, stationary. So move your hand. Don't be afraid to move your hand around to get your ink to go in a direction that you want to go. And so here, this is that panel. You can see I had that background. It had really lightened up when it dried. And so now I'm able to go in and add more layers. And it doesn't really take away from that underlayer. Think of it as an underpainting, like they do in acrylics and oils and watercolor, that you can start with a light base and then you can come back in when it's dry and you can build up on that color. So don't be afraid to experiment with different techniques like these to see different options that you might have. That purple is a little bit too dull, so I wanted to brighten it up again, so I threw in some more color. And again, you just keep going with the same techniques, and that way you won't lose. It won't totally change what it is that you're trying to get. I was trying to get that a diagonal gradient type layered textured look to this panel, and I think I achieved that by letting the edges of that ink dry up, those darker spots. That's just ink. If you don't like that, throw a little bit of alcohol on there, let it sit, you know, just to reactivate that ink, and then go ahead and blow it and move it away, and it'll come right out. It'll thin right out and give you that soft, edgy look. Yeah, see, and I'm moving that my hand around to get it in the direction that I want it to go. So I think that's going to wrap it up for me today, guys. You're going to see me continue on, maybe adding a little bit more ink here, but I really appreciate you guys watching. It means a lot to me that you come to my channel and you check my stuff out, you like, you share, most importantly, you subscribe. Please, if you aren't familiar with Terra over at Mayham Crafty Cards, I'm going to link her up down below. Please make sure when you get to her channel that you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Ring that bell on both of our channels once you subscribe to be notified. Most importantly, you want to hit all notifications when you ring that bell. That's going to alert you each time we upload a video, and that way you won't miss out. Thanks again to everybody who's subscribed to my channel, to all my current subscribers. I absolutely love you guys. To all my new subscribers, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to watch my videos and subscribe to my channel. I love all of you. I appreciate you all so much for being here. And I want to thank you again for joining me today. I hope you have a fantastic day, and I'll catch you in the next video.